Whether we believe it or not, see it or not, we all live in a system far bigger, far more complex, and far more interconnected than we can ever imagine. It's what's known as biological diversity. And as David Cooper, the man who has helped oversee the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, explains,
simply put, it's the variety of life on Earth.
Every single living organism on the planet, human, animal, plant, fungi, bacteria, and more, makes up that diversity of life, which is neat. But biodiversity is about more than the totality of life on Earth.
It matters to us at all sorts of levels. So at the most fundamental level, it's essential for the functioning of the Earth system.
That's right. Biodiversity is what allows for life on Earth.
So many of the biochemical cycles that sustain life on Earth in the broadest sense depend on biodiversity.
So biodiversity doesn't just matter, it's arguably the only thing that matters. Biodiversity is what produces oxygen to breathe. It creates drinkable water. It produces the food that we eat. Biodiversity reduces our pollution, helps remove toxins from the water, supports the pollination of plants, manages our pests, produces our medicines, decomposes our waste, regulates our climate, and allows us to overcome natural disasters. And that might surprise you. After all, when we talk about the environment, we almost always talk about the climate. But rarely do we hear about biodiversity.
We hear a lot about the impacts of climate change. Many of those times we're looking at impacts on biodiversity. We're talking about the increased risk of extinction. And, often when we look at impacts of extreme events that are associated with climate change, we forget those impacts are exacerbated because of what we've been doing to those ecosystems and to biodiversity. The two issues are totally inseparable. Stemming the loss of biodiversity and making full use of our ecosystems is essential in the fight against climate change.
It's a classic bad news, good news scenario. Every problem we face makes other challenges more serious. But equally, as we solve one challenge, we help address other problems in the process. And safeguarding our biodiversity is our best tool in the fight against climate change. It's also our best tool for tackling so many issues. Why? Biologist Laura Kennedy explains.
The more biodiversity you have, the more stable ecosystems become. Ecosystem stability is important. It gives you services like water filtration, nutrient recycling.
Which doesn't sound exciting or important, but as biologist Dr. Victoria Lakasic explains,
we're all part of this web of life on Earth. More connections there are, the more stable the whole system is. As we start to lose little pieces, then now instead of a web, it becomes a line or a chain. And then suddenly that system is really vulnerable to any change that might happen. Any one population or one species can make a big impact on the whole system.
That means while we can learn to live and adapt with a changing climate, we simply can't adapt or overcome a significant loss of biological diversity. And the UN's David Cooper explains that biodiversity
in most parts of the world, it is declining, and it's declining at all levels. Simply the extent of natural lands, whether they be forests, grasslands, coral reefs, and so on, those are declining in area. If we look at the abundance of species, how many fish we have in the sea, how much wildlife we have on land, that is declining as well. Population of insects, be in nature reserves or on farms, it's declining and it's much less than it used to be.
Why?
Because humans are taking up more space on Earth.
Because biodiversity touches every facet of life, everything we do across every system needs to consider biodiversity.
Recent scientific assessment by the IPBES says, we're in a crisis and we need transformative change.
What grizzly, what species, what ecosystem is one too many to lose?
My fear with biodiversity is I see it as a massive brick wall. And people are slowly removing a single brick here and a single brick there. And they're saying, there is no effect whatsoever. This wall is as stable as it was before I slid these bricks out. How many bricks can you slide out before you get a cascade effect?
That everything and everyone interconnects and matters to our planet, that's the brilliance of our system and the complexity. Two undersized bears, an underappreciated insect, one single person has the power to change a system. When we work to understand that, we understand how we fit into the web of life and how we impact it.
Absolutely everything matters. Does that bear get to live or does it not? And you go, well, what do I care? It's like on Mount Robson, what's the impact on me? I don't know. But what I do know is that everything is interconnected. And it's interconnected in so many different ways. It's interconnected at the cellular level. If we take a look at the laws of thermodynamics, the first law is that you cannot create nor destroy energy. And so when it changes the manifestation that it's in at a particular time, it then affects something else. And so if you understand that there's an interplay between things, it may not be a straight line to you, but indirectly it all comes back to us. And so I think that we have to pay attention to every single element that we can comprehend and understand and say, what's the way that I can do hopefully no harm or as little harm as possible, because I understand what the interconnection is between that and myself. Because every decision matters. Every single decision that you make matters because it impacts something else, which impacts something else. And so the interconnectedness of all of this really affects the way that we live our lives.
You matter. Your opinion matters. Your voice matters.
I think we are living in dark times, but it's not the first time we've lived in dark times. And it's been the courage and steadfastness of particularly young people that have helped us to get through it.
And if we can leave our mark on Mount Robson and our communities, on Canada and on our planet, and we can, why not try for better? Why not work to find a new way of looking at an old, if growing problem? Why not find a new path forward that can change our system for the better for all?
Don't take anything for granted. Do not take a healthy, sustainable economy or a healthy, sustainable environment or a healthy and sustainable world for granted.